Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name is Judy, and let's talk tags. I thought for this Thursday I would do a Thursday tag, and the one I'm doing tonight is no disclaimers book tag. I will, when I get to it, we'll put a link to the original video, which I happened to find on somebody's channel. I need to take far more better notes of things than I am. But anyways, let's go with these questions. Number one, which trope in books annoy you the most? Well, let's be honest. I have really come to dislike romances. I mean, in mysteries, sometimes it's okay when it's kind of faint and not in your face, but I just don't like the whole romance thing of, some helpless woman who needs a man to make her life better. It just annoys me. So that is one thing I don't like anymore. Two, which writer or writers do you feel are overrated, overhyped? I am more of a classicist, and I have to say, I've always been more likely to read literature from England. Yeah. So I haven't really read as many American authors as I should have. With that being said, I think F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby is overrated. I don't know how it ends up to be like number one and number two of, like almost every 100 best books in the world. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't agree with that. I think the writing is beautiful, but I don't like the story. I think that it's kind of trivial. Money, love, kind of retribution. I don't know. It just, yeah, it doesn't have the deeper, searching for deeper truths, I think, at least. And of course, as I say, I've only read The Great Gatsby, so some of his other books could be better. But yeah, I don't know that I'd put it, I'm sure it would be in my top 100 best books, but definitely not like one or two, probably more like 73. All right, we'll go on to number 3. Oh, what are your least favorite books you've read since joining BookTube? I read, I've been reading some mysteries since it is still March Mystery Madness going on. I read an early Andrea Penrose, and I can't remember the name of it, which I didn't think was that good. But I'm a very new YouTuber. I've only been doing it this month, and I didn't start at the very beginning of the month either. So I don't know that I really can answer that well. But, I have a lot of books that I want to read, and I'll have to let you know what are my least favorites down the road. A terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. First off my head is, and it wasn't necessarily the ending, Wuthering Heights. I thought it had a great promise. This wild love between Catherine and Heathcliff I thought was quite interesting. And I think the fact that she killed Catherine off so early in the book, and then you just have this really dark, you know, Heathcliff turning into this dark, horrible person. I think there could have been more, or perhaps less. So you know, like I said, it's not necessarily the ending, you know, but I always was captured with the beginning of that book. This young woman who loves the moors and being wild and free with this young man who is confined by society to choose the wealthy man. But once again, I kind of just mentioning it, it's a similar story to The Great Gatsby. How as a young poor man, you lose out on the love of your life, and you work hard, you know, fanatically to build a fortune so that you can actually attain her love. And then it comes to naught. So, you know, maybe it's just that type of story. I don't know. I think that Wuthering Heights reaches, for me, it reaches a more wild place in my heart and soul than The Great Gatsby ever did. I don't know, the technicality, it never captured. Anyways, I'm going down another road. Sorry about that. All right, 5. Which fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? Ophelia in Hamlet. I mean, why did she have to die? I mean, the play killed just about everybody, but, you know, why did she have to be one of the first ones to go? I mean, I felt like there was much more of a story there about Ophelia and who and what she was and what she was trying to do with her juvenile, you know, infatuation, which was somewhat justified by Hamlet. So yeah, I would have liked her to have lived at least long enough to have had some sort of epiphany, some sort of awakening, maturity, something along those lines. Who else? Falstaff. He was too cute of a character to kill off. Yeah, I mean, those are just a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. I haven't been doing a lot of heavy-duty fiction reading right now, so yeah, that's as good as I can do. What are some of your bookish pet peeves? This is harder than I thought it was going to be. Bookish pet peeves. Well, I'll tell you one. Having been grown up wanting a physical book, you know, that it's all in, you know, owning the book. That's what you want. It's what you read. It's what you reread. You want the physical book. And now that you have digital books, it's a little confusing. You know, the mysteries I've read have all been digital, which in a lot of ways I think it's just fine. I don't want to collect a lot of mysteries. You know, I've had those in the past, and I've been, you know, doing a lot of book culling. So, you know, I think those are good to be out of my library for the most part. But there are still some, of course, I'm going to keep. But it's that choice that you have to make. particularly being a rereader. And also, I take great joy, even though it may not look like it with my messy bookshelves, but I take great joy in looking at my books. And, it may not be apparent where things are, and I may, on occasion, have to struggle for a couple hours to find the book I was looking for. But for the most part, I know where my books are at. Probably 75% of the time. I can go and it's within a certain quadrant. And I'm not sure I'm going to have the same long-term relationship with an ebook. And which is why I think if it's something you're really going to want, I'm going to buy it. But at the same token, I thought that I would want to, keep my book club books. But I've been more and more just buying them online, and reading it on my Kindle. So, yeah, it's kind of a quagmire because I do like to reread, but, you start collecting so many books on the darn Kindle, you don't even pay attention anymore. And I'd be more likely to buy another version rather than try and find something that I liked. So, yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a technology thing. But yeah, I definitely have that issue going on. Another pet peeve is how expensive ebooks are. I mean, $14.99 and $9.99 for a book? It's like if it's been out a year, I can go to my used bookstore, not a cheap buy. I mean, I'll probably spend $11 on it, but you're like 99 versus 11. I think I'll go for the 11. So yeah, considering they're electronic, considering that you're making extra money on top of the printing, I would think that ebooks would be a little cheaper than they are. So that's another pet peeve. Okay. Number 7. What are some books you feel should have more recognition? I'm not quite sure what you mean by recognition. I started a little side jaunt into P.G. Wodehouse, the great P.G. Wodehouse readathon. I do think he's perhaps underrated and considered kind of irrelevant. So I think that I just thought it'd be fun to read a little story aloud. And, I find worth in just reading for the sheer joy and whimsy and laughter of a piece. But I mean, most, at least as far as I know, most of the authors I like are fairly well known. T.C. Boyle is a current author who I have a great deal of respect for. I haven't read all of his work, but the pieces I have are pretty solid. Pretty darn solid. I hope that he is getting a good following, but I don't know, but that would be there. And number 8, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? Why? Is being someone who had the opportunity to read whatever I wanted my whole life, I just don't understand why someone would want to hide a book from someone to read, whether it's due to age or considering it to be licentious. In a lot of ways, it just makes the book more attractive to certain people. I know that when Ulysses was banned, it was this book that was so hard to read, and yet, people were smuggling it into the U.S. when it was published, simply to be one of those people. How many of them read it? I wonder. I don't know, but I think there's value even in the books that are problematic. Boy, I can't remember her name. Girl of the Limberlost's author, Jean something or other. I'll come up with it. I loved Girl of the Limberlost, and I've reread it, and it's a really good children's book or young adult book, particularly for its time. But in my parents' library, there was also Her Father's Daughter, which wasn't as nice. The amount of racism in it was pretty horrible. And it was thoughtlessly written. It wasn't written in a way that, like Mark Twain, where he was writing about a specific time and how people related to each other. Well, underneath, you get the feeling from him he saw the inequities of slavery, even though he lived in a slave area. But I didn't get the feeling that this particular author had any kind of sense of that. She just was racist and felt like everybody else should be too. But it was written, gosh, I should have a little bit more facts, but I think it was written in the 20s or 30s. And, I'm glad I've read it. I've read it a couple of times. I don't think I'll ever reread it. Oh, Jean something Porter is her last name, a Porter. And, but even that kind of book, I don't know, should be banned. Somehow we need to have, I don't know, sympathy, or at least an awareness that what was written is wrong. But if somebody wants to read it, because it's kind of an interesting story about a young woman who has this, what I remember, has this cool Studs Bearcat car at a time when they were few and far between, and she roamed the California desert. So, and what I found fascinating was the areas that she was roaming was kind of where I grew up, that what was once desert had turned into mega suburb cities. So yeah, I found it interesting in that way when I read it the second time. But I do think that I wouldn't censor that. I don't know that I would censor. Where I would censor is when something harms somebody, and I guess you could say racism harms everyone. But things that are taken too far in pornography or violence, fighting, you know, those kind of things. I, and like child pornography. I mean, yes, there does have to be a limit. Um, but I think those are at the far edges, and there has to be that limit. But otherwise, um, yeah, I think maybe it should be kept to each person's decision as to what they decide to read and to contemplate. So, and then the last one was, who do you tag? Well, if you've watched it, you got to do it. Get on the board of the No Disclaimers book tag. So, we will talk about books again very soon. Bye.